Here is 8 minutes of random hardcore classic WoW information you might not have known. If you didn't know, aggro ranges can vary from mob to mob, mainly depending on their level compared to yours, but there are actually certain kinds of mobs that specifically have larger radiuses compared to others of the same level. In particular, mobs with words like Watcher, Surveyor, or Tracker in their name tend to have larger aggro ranges than other mobs. This also applies to many of the dog-like enemies in the game, like many hyenas with Starving or Tracking in their names, or enemies like the Bloodhounds and BRD. Also note that these aggro ranges apply to their social aggro as well. On the topic of aggro, some enemies in the game have the ability to see through stealth. This is extremely apparent in max level dungeons, where many trash mobs will see through stealth, with a lot of the trash in Stratholme and Skullman's doing so, as well as the Bloodhounds in BRD or the Gordok Hounds in Dire Maul. Next, here's a list of all the ways I've found to negate fall damage if you are about to die. For class abilities, there's the obvious Slow Fall and Levitate, but also Blink, Divine Shield, Ice Block, as well as Charge, Intercept, and Feral Charge, which can be used if you have a target. For consumables, there are the Limited Invulnerability Potions requiring level 45, the Light of a Loon for Alliance players rewarded from a questline in Ashenvale, Noggenfogger Elixir, where you could possibly turn into a skeleton or shrink instead, Petrification Potions, and Dreamless Sleep Potions can also be used once at an appropriate level, similar to Ice Block, in which you can freeze yourself midair, stopping your fall, and then only take damage from the point you were unfrozen. For items, there are a decent amount. First is obviously the Engineering Parachute Cloaks, but there is also Olaf's All-Purpose Shield, a Horde-only item dropped by the Lost Vikings in Uldaman, which will give you slow fall effect similar to the cloak. Similarly to Charge, the Horned Viking helmet from the same boss in Uldaman actually can also be used to stop fall damage with the on-use effect, and this effect is the same as the Goblin Rocket helmet. Lastly, of course, you can also stop fall damage if there's water. Also, in case you don't know, different races have different size hitboxes and different swing ranges, so the difference in model sizes isn't just for show. As a Tauren, you may be able to reach and hit things from farther away, but you are also more easily hit by enemies, AoEs, and cleaves. Gnomes have short reaches and can even drown in puddles due to their height, but they can more easily avoid AoE attacks, and enemies have to be closer to hit them. Additionally, character hitboxes and attack ranges increase when you jump, which can let you hit farther or have larger spell radiuses. But this will make it easier for enemies to hit you, so if you are running away and you are about to die, don't spam jump if you can manage. In normal vanilla WoW, there are a couple of quests that require your character to die. The first of which is the Shadowforge Key, which usually requires you to die to speak to the NPC to pick up and turn in the quest. On official hardcore servers, this NPC now will always be there if you are alive or dead. The second quest is Meet at the Grave, part of the famous Lincoln quest chain, which requires you to drink a potion called the Vidir Elixir to kill yourself to complete the quest. Now, the elixir only takes you to 1 HP on official servers. By the way, if you are enjoying the video so far, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps me out. Anyways, back to the video. From Scarlet Monastery, there's a very famous axe known as the Ravager, which is pretty cool for its unique look and unique proc effect, which has a chance on hit to cause you to spin in a circle and do damage to all nearby enemies. In hardcore though, this axe is actually not very good, since you can accidentally lock yourself into the animation, making it so you can't properly hamstring kite or earthbind kite, which can make running away very annoying. You can cancel the spin with the escape key, but not everybody knows this, and the proc itself still makes it rather unreliable. Another thing which can easily backfire on you, particularly for rogues, is having damage over time effects on your targets in the form of poisons, bleeds, or proc effects from your weapons. This is because two of your best CC abilities in the form of Blind and Gouge are cancelled whenever a target takes damage, so you could need to use CC to run away from an enemy, but it could instantly break because of Rupture. For this reason, always make sure to use instant poisons for damage, and be careful using that Stinging Viper you got from Wailing Caverns. For Horde players trying to get to Westfall, the safest way is still very dangerous, that method being jumping off the Zeppelin that leads to the Gromgal base camp. If you take the Zeppelin from Orgrimmar, you will likely be in much greater danger, as jumping off puts you extremely close to the elite Murlocs of the Vile Reef, which can easily aggro onto you, then outspeed and destroy you as you slowly try to swim away. The safer Zeppelin from Tirisfal Glades will not drop you by the Murlocs, but there is still some risk, as you will pass directly over a small island, which can kill you if you jump off at the wrong time. The mob leash timer is 11 seconds from when they last took damage or stood still for too long, but it increases by 1 second increments the closer the enemy is to level 60. This is important as you reach the higher levels, because running away gets harder and harder the higher you get. According to the Deathlog add-on, which tracks the statistics for the deaths of hardcore characters and how they die, the class with the lowest average level of death is the Warrior, with an average level of 13.8. The class with the highest average level is the Mage, barely beating out the Priest with an average level of 15.7. Weirdly enough though, the class with the highest probability of reaching level 60 is actually Warrior, with a 4.04% chance, much higher compared to the second highest with Priest at 2.22%. This is likely because Warrior is a very strong class late game, and it is played by many players who are more experienced and want to do endgame content, so the odds they can hit level 60 without dying is far greater. The class with the lowest chance of hitting level 60 is actually Hunter, with a 1.07% chance, despite it being considered one of, if not the best hardcore class by many. This gives credit to all of the common hunter slander seen in the World of Warcraft community. Another thing Deathlog can tell us is that the cause of the most player deaths in the game, to no one's surprise, is fall damage. But for actual enemies, the deadliest by raw kill count is actually the kobold miners found in Elwyn Forest, likely due to how popular humans are as a race for most classic WoW players. Paladins cannot bubble hearth on official hardcore servers, as it would be almost impossible for them to die otherwise. Similarly, this was also banned when playing with the hardcore add-on before the official servers were created, and if you did bubble hearth, the add-on would flag your character as a failed run. When you have the aggro of an enemy, if you then drop it with something like Vanish or Feign Death, or cause them to evade, then the enemy will attack the next nearest player if one is within a certain range of them or is on the aggro table. This is often a mechanic used by griefers, in which they will bring high-level enemies close to those of a lower level to get them killed. Speaking of griefing, there is actually a pretty unique method used by griefers to spawn mobs right on top of you, even when in a major city. This comes in the form of debuffs that will spawn an enemy on top of you to attack you from out of nowhere. These curses are often used by hunters to grief players, in which the hunter will spawn in their pet and let them get debuffed, before dismissing them and pausing the debuff timer, before respawning them around low-level characters like bank alts. The two main debuffs used in this manner are the Haunting Spirits debuff from the Haunted Servitors in SFK, which will periodically spawn low-level ghosts around the player, or the Rift Beacon debuff from the Lost One Rift Seekers in Swamp of Sorrows, which will summon level 25 enemies to attack nearby players. Because of this, I recommend keeping bank alts out of the popular major cities, and instead keeping them in places like Thunderbluff or Darnassus. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Leave a comment below of anything you think should have been included. Anyways...